So now let's begin our group clearing session for our webinar, Inside Out, Dealing with the Energy Held in Our Emotions. Um, so we'll start as we always do by sitting comfortably and just settling in. And I am going to cross my legs and make myself more comfortable. And I'll take a couple of slow, deep breaths. So in this group clearing session, what we're going to do is identify one or more emotions that predominate in our life. Let's try to stick with, if possible, with one, but if there's more than one that need or want to be predominant, which is entirely possible, we're just going to give them some recognition and acceptance. I think in my emails, I said, give them oxygen, right? And perhaps also honor them for the ways these emotions have tried to help us. So let's take a few moments here of sitting quietly and just asking ourselves, what emotions tend to predominate in my life? Joy, sadness, fear. So the language that I always use from the tradition of focusing, something inside me feels happy, sad, frightened, angry, disgusted, lonely, whatever the feeling is. And we might even put a hand on where we feel that. And again, we can use that phrasing to create more presence. Something inside me feels whatever you think this feeling is. And it feels like what? Can you describe to yourself that feeling? And we want to be sure to welcome that feeling without any judgment or without any expectations or demands upon it. We're just observing it innocently. Sometimes it's hard to do that without judgment. We're just saying hello to that feeling. And we can bring to our meeting this feeling a sense of curiosity. We're curious about that feeling. We'd like to get to know it better, to know more about it. Curious about whether it has something to tell us or to show us, or something it wants us to know, or maybe it just wants us to be with it. And if it just wants us to be with it, or if that's part of what it wants, then you can ask, how do you want me to be with you? It's such a beautiful question. It's not one we usually use. It's not part of our social vernacular. How do you want me to be with you? More typically, we would just ask, would you like me to sit with you? Would you like me to hold your hand or put my arm around you? And perhaps you've already noticed, or maybe I'll now call attention to, some way in which that feeling that has been dominant in your life, how has that changed? Perhaps you just feel some relaxation inside. It's not as tight, not as tensed up. There's no, there's less pressure. That could be true even if your predominant feeling is joy, kind of wildly exuberant joy. And now you feel like, yeah, there's joy, but it's easier. Or there's sadness, but it's softer. It's not as heavy, not as gripping. Or if it was anger, there's less fire. It's more on the level of rightness, indignation, rather than rage. Right, righteous indignation rather than rage. Now, if there's a second emotion that's dominant, then you can do that exercise, do this exercise that we're doing here with that one. We acknowledge that it's there, check in where it's located, what it feels like, and be curious with it. If there's a part that feels hurt, wounded, injured, violated. And again, just say hello to that part. Recognize that it's there. Check in what it feels like and be curious about it. As you do that, you may sense that that hurt isn't as intense. Pain is lessened. It's still there, but it's lessened. Remember, we're not trying to get rid of our feelings. We're trying to know them, to understand that they're there and that they serve a purpose. And again, maybe we just sit with them, maybe we hold them. Maybe we just let them know that they are valid and accepted, recognized, valid, accepted. One of the awkward emotions that some of you may have experienced is self-doubt. Comes up like a voice inside, says, probably shouldn't try to do that. Probably going to fail, fall flat on your face, be humiliated. Again, we're not trying to get rid of it or judge it. It's there. It's trying to protect us from getting hurt. So what does it need us to know, or how does it need us to be with it? I'm hearing a little of the song Confident. I've forgotten who sang this, who wrote and sang the song, recorded it. But it's like, oh, and there's this part in there that maybe doesn't get much attention. Who can help that part that feels self-doubt? Maybe they can be buddies. Now we can take a little moment to appreciate how our presence with our emotion gives that emotion an opportunity to relax, let some of the pent-up energy go, and thus feel the whole system feels better. There's more well-being, wellness based on being. On being present. So this would be a good time to check in with our emotion or emotions that we've been looking at, the ones that have predominated, and just see if there's anything else that they need right now from us, any kind of attention, support, compassion, acceptance. Do they really feel our acceptance of them? And if anybody has any questions or comments, this would be a good time to put them in the chat. Hmm. Very good. For the person who just commented that they came with a headache, um, was there an emotion that you found as you went through the session that was related to the headache? Hmm. They said it was fear. And did the fear appreciate your recognizing it and acknowledging it? it it the fear did that in response to my question. Another person writes, a feeling of long-lived frustration and abandonment by God has greatly softened. That sounds really profound. Good. Let's see if you feel more freedom in activity in your work. And play and life. There might even be some room to recognize, some people would say recognize God or recognize the hand of God, meaning God's agency. Sometimes we say nature's support or nature's guidance, sense of knowingness, what we should be doing. Or just a sense of trust in the divine guidance, divine presence. Traditional religion says God always has a plan, or it's God's will when bad things happen, you know. But there is actually a dynamic that underlies that. There's a validity to that. But we usually say things like that as a way of kind of placating the mind, right? That sadness, that feeling of frustration and abandonment. But there is a mechanics that underlies that. Anyone else? That was a lovely comment. Okay, so very good then. We will look forward to seeing you next month. On October 8th, if all goes according to plan, we'll be doing Consciousness is All That There Is, Wellness Based on Being. Very good. All right then. Take care, everyone. And if you dash out right about now, and in about a half an hour, the eclipse of the moon will be full, I believe. I'm going to go see if I can see it now over the treetops. All right. Take care, everyone.